Ladies, ladies, and gentlemen, welcome back. Supreme Being. First and foremost, shout out to Distinguished Agent, my crew, right? That's my coaching. Shout out to Team BC, my nationwide team. Just to let you guys know, the new website is out, briancasellacoaching.com. Make sure you go there and you register for the email list and get your free bonus. Those of you looking to have a chat with us, step your game up. We have a lot to offer you, groups and things and different options for you. Schedule a strategy call as well. All the links are in my link tree on Instagram. They're on my Facebook. They're on my YouTube. You can find them to go to the website and schedule a strategy call. All right. Team BC is taking it to the next level. If you're interested in joining, teambcsold.com/join for my real estate team. That's it for announcements. All right. Let's get into the podcast, which today we're going to talk about assumptions. Okay. I am not responsible for your assumptions. Okay. The world is not going to conform to your assumptions, first and foremost. Number two, how much do you assume in your daily life, and how is it affecting you? Case in point, a lot of people who follow me are business people and entrepreneurs, real estate agents, salespeople, et cetera, et cetera. You call somebody, they're upset, they hang up on you, or they curse you out, or any of the above, basically a negative response. What's your assumption there? They're an asshole. I'm a rookie and they could smell it. I don't have enough experience. Cold calling doesn't work. Door knocking doesn't work. Fill in any other excuse, which is basically an assumption. That's an assumption. How do you know? Did that person tell you exactly why? Did you ask them? Did you get an honest answer? Here's another example. I'm walking down the street. I'm in downtown. I'm walking by and somebody gives me a dirty look. Right? I happen to make eye contact with them and they have like the Fuchi face, right? How many people, especially in today's world, would make an assumption there? Oh, if it's a woman, oh, they hate men. That's a extreme feminist. Or, oh, that person's racist. Or this and that, right? This person's discriminating against my tattoos and long hair. I mean, we could fill in the blank with a million things. Now, all of those things technically, potentially could be a possibility. However, I cannot come to a logical conclusion. Why? I never stopped and asked them. So we move forward with our assumptions, and then we reinforce it on social media or to people around us. And we're like, oh, I think that person was an asshole. Yeah, man. And other people just feed into it. And it becomes this never-ending disaster because now that's shaping your world, your reality, your emotions, your thought process, your perspective, and everything. So I'm going to stop for a second before I continue and ask yourself, how many automatic assumptions do you make throughout the day? Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Oh, they're an asshole. You never know. Maybe that person doesn't drive that way and their wife is in the car pregnant and they have to get to the hospital. So they're being a little bit irresponsible with their actions right now because they're in a rush. Is that a possibility? Sure. You don't know. It's also possible that they could be an asshole. But the point is here, you don't know. How many of you think that you didn't get the deal from a prospect that you talked to because fill in the blank? I'm too new. I'm no good. They didn't trust me. I fucked up. And, again, assumption. We've gotten so far away from like objective reality and the actual truth and what's really going on that we're just like in a constant state of irrationality and delusion. And basically, this is how I can sum it up. In most cases, these assumptions, you're going to filter your reality and make these assumptions based on like some of your lower bottom tier insecurities. So going back to the example where I said somebody thinks that they're not getting business as a salesperson because they're new, that's because they filter everything from that standpoint. Any loss, any lost sale, any rejection. Oh man, hold on. Sorry about that, guys. I got my cats climbing on my stuff and they knock stuff over and everything. All right. Everything is going to be filtered based on that lowest end insecurity. So again, any rejection, any whatever is going to be, well, it's because I was new, or they found out that I was new, or the other guy had more. Everything is going to be filtered on that. Again, whether you think, better said, whether you know it's fact or not. Okay. And this literally leads to insanity. Think of all the people that you know or that you've heard of who them and their spouse broke up, a friendship ended, and they didn't have what's called closure, right? They didn't know exactly why the person left or they ended up not being friends anymore or breaking up. The quickest way to insanity is for that person to never find out and just keep thinking about it and dwelling on it. That will lead to somebody going insane. And we literally see that happen all the time. We have to stop this behavior, or at the very least, not come to any conclusion. More importantly, not let it affect us emotionally, because that's what this does. This destroys you internally from an emotional standpoint and a spiritual standpoint. We walk around as if we know what's going on when literally the vast majority is assumptions. And then your emotional wiring is based on that. Your decision-making process is based on that. Your perception of the world, who's good, who's bad, who's evil, who's good, is all based on that. And it's erroneous in virtually every case. Because do you have a running count of how many of your assumptions are true or not? You don't know. And I guarantee you, as time goes on, especially if you've been studying me for years and you've been chopping this stuff away, especially the people in my coaching, we dive deep on this stuff, right? As you've been chopping these things away, man, it's opened up a whole new world to you, a whole new existence where you can be free mentally, where you can be surrounded by chaos and still have this level of peace and tranquility. You can begin to use your logic and reason to better your conversations, better your business, better your relationships, and live an overall better life and see through a lot of the garbage that's out there. And just you slice through it like a lightning bolt, man. It's fantastic. What a way to have control over your life and not feel like you're a puppet on strings. Very few people can relate to that. Even the people that tell me, oh yeah, I'm like that. No, you're not, dude. Very few of you actually are. And most of you, I can tell just by our conversations and looking at your life that you don't have it together. Why be delusional about it? You're not there. You know how long it took me to start scratching the surface of that? I'm not saying I've mastered it. It took me a long time, man. A lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, a lot of experience. Been doing this shit for 10 years, man. I'm not a new kid on the block. But it's a level of existence that most people can't even fathom, can't even conceptualize, not even create and be able to even imagine what that would be like. So I want you to take a step back right now, and I want you to bring things into your mind right now that would be everyday things. Yeah, like the dirty look is an everyday thing. Somebody cutting you off in traffic, right? Somebody rejecting you when you call or knock. Somebody being weird at a meeting. Friends ignoring you. All that daily stuff that we deal with. Somebody not getting back to you, a prospect or somebody who maybe you organize an event with not getting back to you, somebody ghosting you. In all those scenarios, how many times have you made assumptions before we even get into the teaching? How many times have you made assumptions and then found out later you were wrong? That client who was ghosting you, you found out, I'm so sorry, my mom got hospitalized and I've been disconnected for a week. And you were sitting there complaining and even dissing that person, saying, what an asshole, they don't get back to me. You made an assumption, a wrong assumption. Now, every once in a while, our assumptions are true. But every time you do this, you're rolling the dice. And the crazy part about making these assumptions is then you accept that as reality. The emotion hits you, the story gets created, and your reality gets shifted because of it. That's the potency of this thing. It literally dictates and is the first piece of every other piece of that puzzle and what happens next when you make that first assumption. I know people who assume literally everybody is against them. That's their assumption. And no matter what happens or what I point to on the outside, they'll figure out a way to bring it back and rationalize how everybody's against them when objective reality proves otherwise. But they're blind to it because they've made so many assumptions for so long, they cannot see the truth. They're so blinded by their own story and delusions that they have no idea what's going on, and they just keep playing everything back into that story. That's the danger in this thing, and you have to be able to snap out of it. The first way to do this is being in close contact with or referencing somebody who has a different map of reality than you in that particular area or areas that you're struggling. How have they come to that conclusion? How are they able to do that? What do they possess? Being exposed to that perspective and being able to see it and hear from it and have a dialogue with it, interact with it, begins this process of erosion of the old and the ability for you to usher in the new. This is why I've been preaching to people and urging them for the longest times. Those of you who are dedicated, you got to get closer if you really vibe with the Team BC brand. Why aren't you coming to the events? Why haven't you joined Distinguished Agent or Limitless if you're a higher level? What is stopping you from doing that if subject matter like this is very important to you and you see the detriment it's having on your life? One of my YouTube videos or someone else's or a podcast isn't going to revolutionize this. This becomes a lifelong journey and study, because as I discover new things, the people closest to me get all those datums and experiences firsthand. I don't share that with the public. I share a sliver of it with the public. I share it with the people closest to me. And I breed them and I train them and I make them into badasses with stuff like this. Because when I said assumption, even if you're listening to this, whether it's familiar to you, the subject or not, you've become so disconnected from so many things that would fall into this category that you're not even thinking about it right now. And what's going to happen is after this podcast, it's going to hit you at certain points of the day over the next days, months, weeks, years, probably. Oh, that's what he was talking about. Oh, I made an assumption there, right? And this is how you start learning, first with situational awareness. But number two, you now recognize it and you change the pattern and you change these assumptions and you first question them. Why do I assume this? Why do I think this way? Why do I assume when somebody looks at me, they're discriminating against my tattoos, or they hate tall people, or they hate the color of my skin, or my teeth, or my shoes? Why do we make these assumptions? You start to ask yourself, and then you come to a very quick conclusion that your logic is flawed, because you would have to at the very least ask people. Remember back in the day when people were doubting me and giving me a bunch of BS advice? And I started asking people door to door. Remember that question? Hey, do you care how old somebody is? And everybody told me, no, we don't care. That I went back to those people and said, stop giving out fake advice. No one cares. I asked them. That was me proving that. That was me beginning that process 8-9 years ago of challenging the status quo and assumptions and beginning to peel back that layer to see that the majority of my reality was based on BS beliefs, philosophies, and identities, because that's the core of it. We deal with, most people, thoughts, ideas, actions, which is the surface, man. That's the top. We need to get down to the bottom levels because that's what governs the top levels. And when you deal with the bottom level, the first domino falls and it knocks over the rest. But if you only hit the last domino at the end, the other ones are still standing and you have a lot of work to do. We're starting from the wrong end here, most people. Okay? So you begin to find these assumptions. You begin to change them. Now a shift starts happening. And many people, this starts messing with them. And it can be a heavy time. Because as your reality shifts and shatters, and what you thought to be true isn't true anymore, and now you're approaching situations differently, and now you're beginning to evolve and change, it's a process that at times can be heavy and not be easy. You go through a lot of emotions, right? You start questioning the process. Sometimes you don't feel good. That's totally normal. And this is why people avoid this type of stuff, because it's hard. It forces you to look yourself in the mirror and confront your own BS. And if it's me teaching you and helping you, I'm going to hold you in front of the mirror and tell you, deal with it now. And I'm going to make you do it. Why? Because at that point, you've anointed me and hired me to help you do it, which I will gladly do. But then at the end of it, you thank me and you begin to change. And I start noticing the changes in you. And I say, man, you've evolved and grown a lot. Look how your life has changed, your business, your relationships, your self-esteem, your confidence, your ability to communicate. All of that has improved. Fantastic. Keep going. Keep going. Keep pushing that boundary. Question these assumptions. Why? That's the only way you reveal what your operating system is as a human being. If you never get into that level to see what software you have in your mind, the beliefs, the philosophies, and all that stuff, and you never question it, and you just keep going with what you were told in the surface level, man, you haven't even begun to scratch the surface of human potential. You haven't. This is why I geek out about this stuff, guys. I love this stuff. This is my favorite stuff. Some of my favorite stuff, right? This, communication, that kind of stuff, because this to me is that master key to unlock human potential in whatever endeavor they choose to take. I happen to be more focused on real estate because, hey, that was my main career that I started with. A lot of people come to me from the real estate world. Fantastic. Fantastic. But I challenge you over the next week to pick at least 5 assumptions that you have and challenge them and upgrade them, and then see the weeks after that how much change, how much weight has been lifted off your shoulders, how much more clarity you have, how much more ability you have now to use your own logical mechanism in your mind to decipher the world for what it really is and get down to what truth is for those things. Because if you don't have the truth and you're just assuming, that's a slippery slope and it starts to affect you. Because the longer you live that assumption that's wrong, and then finally it gets revealed to you later on that it was BS, the longer it happens, the deeper hole that you're digging yourself and the harder it is to get out. Because then we resist it more and more. It's just human nature. So challenge your assumptions. I challenge you to challenge your assumptions. Please. Take this as seriously as you know you have to. I'm here to teach you and remind you about some of these things because although it's not what everybody talks about, it's those underlying things that affects human beings at its core. And when somebody's presented to me who has handled these things or who is willing to handle them, we start getting rid of all these things blocking them from living their true potential and having success in whatever it is that they want to do. That's the beauty of this stuff. Find somebody to do this with you. I'm going to be starting a Discord group soon, and I'll be sharing the link with you guys for people to discuss these types of ideas. It's going to be free. And then I'll be sharing links to these podcasts and maybe giving you guys some tools and some tips along the way to help you. But you really have to start prioritizing this type of stuff because then this leads to other things, your own personal development, your own journey to really getting down to the core beliefs and philosophies that were first instilled in you as a human being by your family, culture, society, parents, family, et cetera, et cetera. Now you become your own creation. Now you cleanse yourself and you make sure that from bottom to top, from the deepest point to the most surface level, everything in you has been checked and analyzed by you and either put in or replaced by something that you chose and not by something or someone outside of you without your permission. Because that's the key here. These assumptions and other things that we have, without permission, we've granted other people access to our minds, our bodies, and our souls. And that to me is the biggest crime because we are not even aware that that's a sacred thing that has to be us with us. If you're going to let somebody in, at least let it be with your permission. No other way. Okay? So I'm going to reiterate, guys. Tomorrow I'm doing a webinar. I'm posting this the 27th, the 28th at 4 p.m. EST. Check out my YouTube, my latest YouTube video and the links. You can find it on my Instagram. You can find it on my Facebook, right? I'm doing videos. I'm posting the links all the time. Number 2, BrianCastellaCoaching.com for my website. I have everything there. It's new. You'll get on the email list. You'll get a free bonus with that. And lastly, if you're really interested in taking it to the next level, schedule a strategy call with Team BC. We can help you. We have a ton of stuff to offer you. The link is in the description. It's in my YouTube. It's on my Instagram. It's in the Facebook. It's everywhere. All right, guys. Appreciate you supporting. Appreciate you tuning in. Leave us a review on iTunes when you get a chance. And we'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.